Hi guys, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. So the other day I went and saw 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I had very low expectations of, or even maybe mixed, because I've heard really good things and not so good things. So I was really interested to see how this went, and also interested to see how this ties in with Cloverfield, because I've heard that it was meant to be a sequel, then I heard it was meant to be a prequel, and then we looked it up before we went and saw it, and it's meant to be like a bloodline to Cloverfield, and then after watching it, it's just meant to exist in the same universe pretty much. I don't really think that's a spoiler, and I think it's probably better to go in with the intentions that it's not connected, because you don't really have to see Cloverfield to see this movie, and it makes no difference really. It's just kind of more of a surprise. So 10 Cloverfield Lane is about a woman who has just broken up with her partner and decides that she needs to run away from her problems, as her character always does, and she gets in her car and she takes off and she gets into a crash. She wakes up in a strange room and she is hurt and she's chained to the wall, and she is told by her captor, who finally comes in and tries to talk to her, that things aren't what she thought they were and she is safer down there. There's a few reasons why this film is very captivating for me, and I think for me and a lot of other people would have been John Goodman. His character was really well formulated, and I think all of their characters were really well formulated, to be honest. They all had these kind of underlying problems, and they all kind of came to the surface, good or bad, and kind of constructed how the story went, which is normally how a story works. But this is kind of like a simple plot line. It is actually really simple when you think about it, but the characters really made the film, and I think that's a really good structure to a horror film. Yeah, you can have all the story and all the great plot line in the world, but unless your characters are a little bit likable or a little bit interesting, you don't really give a fuck, right? If they die, it doesn't matter. But this movie, you really wanted to figure out what was going on and why, and there's just a couple different pieces to the puzzle that you don't really figure out, but it's got to do with their characters more than the plot, if that makes any sense. I don't know if anyone agrees with me, let me know down below. Another thing I really liked about the movie is, because the plotline was so simple and the characters were so unpredictable, that there was no really predictability for the film. It could have gone a number of different ways, and there was this underlying eerie sensation in the film. Just when you feel like you're really comfortable, something really shocking happens, and there's one bit that will totally make you jump in your seat. It did for me in the theater, so it'd be really interesting to see what people thought of this on DVD, if it held up the same kind of atmosphere. But there's just this eerie undertone throughout the whole movie, and every time something crazy happens, you're really not suspecting it, and I really like that. It wasn't the most amazing, creative, out there movie ever, but I thought it was really interesting, and it was really well done, and it was paced in a very different way, where kind of slower, and then all this kind of action thing happened towards the end. So it really is like a development throughout the story. Don't go in there expecting like a huge, you know, like a Cloverfield situation where things are happening every second. That's not how it's meant to start. You're meant to get into the characters, and then things start falling apart and coming back together, and it's a really good payoff for that. And just a quick tip, don't take kids to see this movie. When we went to the cinema, there was like 4 kids with their mother, and there's some very violent parts, and very gruesome violent. And I'm not talking about, you know, people being stabbed or anything. There's some pretty out there stuff, and it's quite realistic, and it's not something you want to show your kids. I'm sure you guys know this, but I just thought it was outrageous. What the fuck was she doing? Those kids are gonna be traumatized. I would be traumatized, and I'm pretty fucked up already. Another thing I really liked about this movie is I'm loving how all these female protagonists are popping up in horror movies all over, and they have been for the last year or so, and I really enjoy that. But I really enjoy that she was super fucking resourceful in this film, and if that annoys you when a character is really smart, then this is definitely not the film for you, because she is a smart ass in the best way possible. I just think when I watch these films, I'm like, man, I wouldn't think of putting that with that and getting out that way and doing, but she has got it all together, and it just makes me want to go, you know, start Boy Scouts or Gubnut Guides, that's what they call them in Australia, you know, and get all crafty just in case I get in the same situation. I thought that she was really clever, and I really enjoyed her character. I'd say the main thing about this movie is it's kind of like an action type thriller movie, that at some points it doesn't seem very horror, but then it gets there finally. But the thing is, it does have a really good underlying message to do things even if they scare you, and not to run away from your problems. And this movie is just like a jumble of just some good things. So I definitely recommend it to you guys. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I'm gonna give it a personal score of 7.5, which it's not like my most favorite film ever, but I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna give it a scare score of 6 just because of the violence, and originality, I'm gonna give it a 7 because it is original in some points, and I really like the modern type day scenario of this kind of thing happening. I think they pulled it off really well without bringing technology too much into it, which is like a whole nother story, but I thought it was really good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to follow me on Facebook if you want to keep up to date with me. I post kind of more on there, and I post on Twitter a lot, so make sure you head over to those ones. I always ask you guys what you want to see, let you know what's coming up, and if you want to stay connected, please do that, and I'll see you guys later. Stay spooky. Bye.